Bonnie Downs again, back in the saddle. Bonnie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great now that I'm here.
I'm excited. This is kind of another veterans episode. Mia Garcia from Combined Arms. Mia, how are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super pumped to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this. So you're out of Houston, correct? You guys are based out of Houston.
Yes. Our headquarters is in Houston, but obviously, since we launched the Texas Veterans Network in partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission in April of 2020, we're 5 years into this fun partnership with just about 80,000 unique veterans connected to resources via the network.
That's awesome. So we're going to talk all about veterans and Combined Arms. That's great. Bonnie, where have you been? Where have you been all your life?
I haven't been here, but I'm just glad I'm back here with the podcast and with Mia as well. I'm very excited. Watch out. There's 3 veterans in this room. A lot can get done here in an hour. So I'm very excited to be here with you, Mia.
That's good.
Thank you.
Mia, please, I would say introduce, you already introduced yourself, but tell us what exactly you do for Combined Arms and what brought you to that, to the group there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, I'm Mia Garcia from the Combined Arms team, but I lead the Texas Veterans Network, which again is our partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission and has created the first interconnected state network for veteran resources. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I've been in the veteran serving ecosystem for a decade now, and I've just really found my passion for serving others, and this really incredible opportunity with Combined Arms became available right when we were launching the Texas Veterans Network. And so, do you want me to share right now about who we are and what we do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Combined Arms is, I think of it as a hub of vetted resources for transitioning service members, veterans, and their families. Mm-hmm. You're a Marine Corps veteran, I know.
Hello, Devil Dog. Yep.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
But you can probably remember that transition can be daunting. And even if you're like that young motivator that just did 4 years and got out, I mean, you think that when you walk out...
Unloaded a lot of Conex boxes, stuff like that.
Yeah. But do you think when you walk out that gate, that last day of service, that, you know, the world's your oyster and, you know, it's going to be simple to figure things out. But the reality is that there's a lot out there that we as service members and veterans just don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're really there to bridge that gap, to bring access and awareness to the resources for the transitioning service member and their family. Mm-hmm. And ideally get as far upstream as possible at the Texas installations and talk to those service members and say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Because they're essentially displaced workers that have picked up some really excellent soft skills along the way.
That's right.
And they're ready to re-enter the workforce. But the workforce could have changed since they, joined the military. Mm-hmm. So we help them navigate that and not only, find that next career opportunity, but also find out what Texas resources are available to them. It could be through the Veteran Land Board, like what land loan options do you have available? Or through the Texas Veterans Commission, what educational benefits do you have available? Or, hey, do you want to start your own business? The TBC has excellent entrepreneurship program.
Yeah. And not to say it's an afterthought, but you're coming to your term of enlistment. There's a lot of great programs that do it very well. Fort Bliss, when I went out there and toured those offices and saw what they're doing to pull their soldiers that are end of service, EASing, I guess. They have great programs where they get them introduced or get them around in the world of employers in the area. So they're not only possibly seeking employment with those folks, but they're also talking about those industries. It's just there's a lot to that. So it's great that there's additional support that's happening outside of the military when you come to it.
Well, you said a really important word, vetted. So these are organizations that you work with, kind of like a one-stop shop, but that veterans can trust, right? And it's less overwhelming. You're not going to be taken advantage of. Unfortunately, there are some of those veteran organizations out there. So can you maybe talk more about the vetting process and how that works?
Sure. And I think I'll use kind of an example since y'all went to your version of the Transition Assistance Program, right? TAPS. And it hasn't really changed that much. In some bases, in some branches, it's better than others, right? But in there oftentimes just sending you on your way with a list of resources. And sometimes that list can have antiquated email addresses, phone numbers, and that's not a really great approach because you don't then know that what that veteran's getting on the back end. And so what we've really created is finding those state agencies and nonprofits that want access to these service members to be able to serve them, but we're doing our due diligence. So we verify, the 990s of these organizations, make sure they are indeed best in class, but then those organizations sign an MOU with us. So there's an accountability within that. And on average, the veterans are getting access to the resources that they select within 17 hours.
Wow.
And for those more intense cases that, might require someone to call them, those are within 6 hours.
So it's kind of more rapid response.
Yes.
And that's I know how frustrating that is to find something that a really great resource, and then you go on it and it's like a blank page.
Sure.
It's just kind of like, well, that's what's been going on my entire life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of veterans don't reach out because of that very fact. So hearing that it's a rapid response and sounds like very easy to sign up for, it sounds like a must do.
Yeah.
As a veteran in Texas.
Absolutely. And the plus to that is then we can really see over time what transitioning service members and veterans are needing over time. And it helps us get really smart about what gaps exist in resources. So, for example, we've been tracking, the veteran connections for the Texas Veterans Network now since April of 2020. That's 80,000 veterans connecting to resources over time. We saw in April or May of 2021 a 442% increase in food assistance being requested, but specific counties, specific zip codes.
A lot of data.
And so that allowed us to be really specific with partnering with organizations that could bring that resource to veterans. But that's just an example. And another example would be the disaster that just happened in the Hill Country. Well, we have 150 veterans that have connected with us over time in Kerr and Kendall County. So we can be really intentional with that response to reach out to those veterans, see if they were impacted, and connect them to resources too. So, data plays a really important piece in this. And so I'll kind of walk you through what that process looks like.
Yeah.
So we have regional managers at the military installations. We actually have someone that, has an office at Fort Bliss,
okay, good.
example.
So you guys are diffused out into to
And so we do everything we can to meet them where they're at, whether that be they're at the military installation transitioning in that moment, or they're in the community like in dire need. Like I'll use the example of the Hill Country veteran. And what we'll do is have them create a profile, and based off of what their needs are at that moment, they'll see the organizations that can assist them based off of their requirements of those organizations and the zip code they live in. So, for example, me as a female veteran looking for professional attire, well, the only organizations that would populate for my profile are those organizations that can assist me.
Oh, gotcha.
So we're really taking the gray space out of, there's all these organizations that say they help veterans, but who can really help me for the exact thing that I need? Right. Just to give you an example, but across the board, we're very focused on employment here. That's a priority for us, is making sure that's the first thing they secure is meaningful employment after their service. And so, they can create a profile and connect with organizations like Next Stop that help middle enlisted connect with industry careers. They can connect with Hiring Our Heroes that can help them, create a non-federal resume. But just to give you kind of the scope, the breadth and depth, it's everything from professional attire to help me create a LinkedIn profile to, direct placement.
And I think there's also an employer side to this as well. I'll just tell a quick story. We went to visit the Port of Houston a couple weeks ago, and we invited Mia to join us. And we were around this round table, and we had an individual from Port of Houston. And after Mia introduced herself and who she was and what she does, he was basically like, I need to talk to you. We need to hire veterans. So I think it's another thing that we need to bring it more to the attention of the employers. There was a big push after Operation Iraqi Freedom 1 and 2 to hire all these veterans, but I think it needs to continue more. And I think that's another part of your mission.
Oh, sure. 100% is bridging that gap. I talk to employers all the time. They're like, I want to hire military talent. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't have a lot of resources to do it. But you don't really need a lot of resources. They're the 20 workforce boards. We partner alongside them to bring more awareness to employers.
And real quick, the local workforce boards, they have strategic, specific veteran resources that they provide. It's kind of like first in line for veterans for different events and programs. They do specific job fairs where they're trying to cultivate more of those employers and getting them,
Sure.
continuing to do that. Employers, again, and I would just kind of have this conversation with you guys. What makes an employer, have a good culture for like to have an open door for military? Because you always think about like, well, I was in the military. You were an MP. It was like, did you think you were just going to be transition and go into law enforcement after you got out of the military?
No,
Yeah.
but I think, again, I got out. I was in Operation Rocky Freedom 1, and you'd would hear these stories about veterans getting out, and they would immediately be hired at Google, or they were being picked up so quickly, and there was that big push. But then when I got out, I was like, where's Google? Where's my job, at a corner office?
Yeah,
But
I feel like everybody thought they were always
Yes.
a year late when it comes to that. When it comes to just getting swiped up and having the dream job. But I
Yes.
don't think it was like that. It's something different, maybe.
No, and I think too, an employer can, when they put out a job search, or a lot of veterans, they pigeonhole themselves in a box, and they're like, I can only do these skill sets. But there are so many skill sets in a veteran that you can't really teach, like
Yeah.
leadership, thinking outside the box,
Just
adapting and overcoming. I mean,
being organized.
being organized. A lot of people, you can be hired, but then teach the specific skill. But those skills, I feel, can take you so
Yeah.
far in a job.
And I think a lot of times, like, they're ahead of their peers with respect to that, because those soft skills aren't just something you can pick up straight out of college.
Mhm.
And so that's part of the package. I think that employers sometimes struggle to see that. I think
Yeah.
that a lot of times there is some fear, like, oh, these people, these veterans have been at war, and not every veteran has been at war. A lot of them have strong administrative skills. I know Bonnie was going to ask me for a success story that kind of ties all
yeah.
this in. And so I think that in feeding off of that, so we have my last duty station was 1st Battalion 23rd Marines and infantry unit. And there was a Marine that connected with Combined Arms. He was infantry. So just like MPs, I think oftentimes they're like, all right, I can be a police officer, or I can, get some sort of federal security type job. And they're like zeroed in on that. That would be success for me, right? That was not the case. So there's about 3 of these 0311s, so grunts, that got out at the same time. They all went to local, either Harris County or HPD to try and join. And
Yeah.
only one of them made it. And so this particular Marine, he was like just really down on his luck. He had a family, so
Yeah.
that's very stressful. Didn't know what he was going to do next. So he came to Combined Arms. He created a profile, came to Combined Arms, started working with the Next Stop, worked with the Mission Continues, got, found his tribe again, and got so connected, building out his network. He then got connected to an entrepreneurship program through the Texas Veterans Commission and Institute for Veteran and Military Families, IVMF. And he is a thriving business owner now.
Oh, good.
He
Yeah.
started his own marketing business. He got a job through the Texas Workforce Commission work in Texas. I forget which company in the meantime. But, he figured it out by growing that network, by learning about these resources available to build out his own company. So he has a marketing company, and he has a contract with Pepsi Company now.
Oh, that's
wow.
good. Yeah.
Love
This
that.
is like within, 4 years of just...
There's some ingenious, some creative dudes coming out, and Marines and military veterans that are coming out of this. Shout out to 123, the Texas Battalion. Are you there?
It's like everyone's from there somehow.
Yeah, I deployed with them in early 2000s.
H&S or Alpha?
Well, you guys, Alpha was in Houston, right? There in the
Yes.
infantry. I was with Weapons Company
Weapons
here in
Company.
Austin,
Okay,
and then
awesome.
I attached to H&S back there. So maybe a few years difference between us, I'm sure.
And a small world.
It is always a small world when you got 3 veterans in the house.
And I also feel the veterans coming out of the service, they have a different level of maturity. Like I think me and Commissioner Esparza had kind of the same story. We joined right out of high school, or we tried college.
Bonnie outranks me.
No, stop.
She does.
We joined right out of, we tried college, flunked out, joined the military, went back to college. We were on the dean's list.
Yeah, kinda.
You just come out a different person. And I think a lot of veterans have that same type of story. And I just think it gives a different level of maturity being in the military and then joining the workforce that a lot of people sometimes don't have or have to go to school for or have to take classes for. I just feel it gives an extra,
Yeah, it enhances. You're growing up in the military. You're forced to do it. You're forced to be a part of a machine that is, bigger than yourself.
Yeah, and even those veterans that, like I said, I'm a trained mechanic as a diesel mechanic in the Marine Corps, and then you just get applied to everything that the Marine Corps needs while you're out there. A lot of that, I'm not a diesel mechanic out here now, but again, those skills and those trades, and when we say trades, always transition or translate somehow into different aspects of industry. So, folks that are even veterans that are in there now, if you're electronics, you're technicians, you're doing something, airline, airframe mechanic or something like that. You're not pigeonholed into just being, if you run a forklift, which is a great skill to have. I want to find the forklift operator T-shirts. I'm grabbing one. But you probably ran a forklift for 90% of the time, but you understand logistics, and that's. I think it's just all that stuff. All those skills are translatable.
And I think a big one is punctuality, but showing up on time, showing
early.
up for an interview.
Why is this guy always early?
Yes, or that's a huge part of it. And I hear so many stories where, someone didn't even show up for the interview. Yes, there's so many skills that I think veterans sometimes, overlook or don't really know can get them a great job.
And in the same vein as what Commissioner Esparza just shared, mechanics, being able to work with your hands, having that, you read diagrams but
losing parts.
taking things apart, putting them back together.
Deconstructing.
But those positions are in high demand across the board.
Right.
So field service specialists, field service operators, to working on aircrafts. Right. There's so many companies that are looking for that sort of veteran. Also in the petrochem space.
Oh yeah.
So I know that was one of the questions. Is like, what are you seeing is in high demand right now? Well, I think it depends on where you are in Texas, but we're seeing lots of logistics opportunities in North Texas. Obviously, they're all coming from California and relocating. So there's lots of opportunity there, but then also in the cyber and tech space too. Like there's a huge draw right now for veterans. But the opportunity, or I guess the most abundant, are always going to be those, the trades type positions where they're always in high demand, whether it be mechanic, machinist, those sorts of opportunities, because it fits so many industries.
Shout out to Bechtel. Bechtel in Houston. I don't know if you guys, that may be a lead if y'all haven't already.
I know Darren Amick very well.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. They're really, I'm excited to say that they've got a great veteran program. If there's one that other businesses, employers are looking to be, and Bechtel's a huge company, so they're worldwide, I'm sure. But they have a great program that's focused on veterans and the retention that they have, the hiring that they have, and it's not just the amount; it's kind of the satisfaction of having that being working with that program. And again, a lot of those folks are cybersecurity folks that they're bringing in. It's obviously critical infrastructure. I think that's a one good example of a good partnership that you guys are probably already undergoing.
Absolutely. They do a really fantastic job. Hiring the veteran is incredible. Amazing first step. And there's a lot of moving pieces to just do that successfully. But then retention is another piece. And Bechtel does that very, very well. They have a really strong BVETS program.
Oh, yeah.
So they bring partners like Combined Arms in to talk about resources, help get them connected, but then also give them that way to be a part of their community too. Because a lot of veterans still, they want that sense of tribe, and they can't always find it in their company, because maybe it's like they're moving a lot. Especially if you work in West Texas, right? You're always on the go. But Bechtel does a great job in bringing that to their veterans.
So it sounds like if you're a veteran or employer, Combined Arms, Texas Veterans Network is where to start. You can help both sides.
Yeah, force multiplier for the organizations that are part of our network, but then also just our reach across the state of Texas. We can be a force multiplier for corporations as well.
Before we wrap up, something that I'm always interested in, or I'm always pushing folks, the idea here is if I'm a veteran, I'm currently in a skilled trade, or I'm currently working for a company. Is Combined Arms? Do y'all have any examples of almost like business training when it comes down to it? So I'm just going to say I'm a welder, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm welding for a company and I start hearing that like there's a lot of opportunity, but I don't know how to start a business. I don't know how to run a business. What are the coachings that let's talk specifically for like entrepreneurship?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one to start with. And, that happens with the example of Bechtel. Like, that's the information we would then take to those veterans that are part of their BRG is first, know all your Texas benefits, right? But then also, entrepreneurship is one of those through the Texas Veterans Commission, but also there's a number of nonprofits that provide that resource as well. And so giving them those tools, lots of the organizations like give them the checklist, give them the connections to the network, give them connections to mentors, even the Small Business Association. There's a Boots to Business program within the state, and they have deep ties to both Fort Hood and Fort Bliss. And so we're alongside them. We're in those classes. Again, force multiplier of one another. Entrepreneurship is definitely one of those amazing resources that there's such a shortage of opportunity. There's all these opportunities to pitch your business and get a proper footing to launch as well. Another unique one would be a lot of nonprofits bring opportunities to us to then disseminate the information to the community, right? Bob Woodrow Foundation has a really cool opportunity right now for veterans that want to get real estate license.
Oh, nice.
So it's essentially it's a sponsorship for 500 veterans to go through this program, learn how to become a realtor, and get that license. Wow. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think too many times veterans just don't know what they don't know. But so we want to bring that information to them and share it far and wide.
Or maybe don't think they can be a realtor.
Yeah.
But it's in them,
Totally. And okay, so really to boil it down and just to put an exclamation point on what we're talking about, there's a lot of resources, and resources equal money, and there's a lot of that laying on the table when it comes down to veterans, thinking, you should definitely look up Combined Arms, Texas Veterans Network, if it's just to browse what you think might be interesting. You might see, and you might even find an organization that you either want to support or join because you have the talent, you have the leadership, or you've been running your business and think you can help veterans that are just some of the folks that are just transitioning, that you can do that, because veteran community definitely helps their own. They continue to look for ways to give and to do great things, especially when the need arises. But yeah, no, I think that. Mia, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Semper Fi, Mia.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, Bonnie. That's
Thank
awesome.
Thank you, Mia. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me.
This was great. Folks, thanks again for listening to another week of Available Work. Tell your friends, definitely tell your veteran friends and all the folks that you care about to listen to this great information. And always, we'll see you again. Thanks.